Friends, welcome to another episode of Team Jesus Outdoors. Hey, if you're going to hit the ice this winter, you really need to have some sort of fish finder. Whether you're going to use an LCD sonar or you're going to use a flasher, you really need some sort of fish finder when you're ice fishing. Some days it can make all the difference in the world between catching fish and not catching fish. Friends, make sure to stick around and watch the whole video. We are going to compare flashers to LCD. We are going to look at Lowrance Elite 5 unit. We're going to look at the Garmin Striker 4. We're going to look at Vexilar, and we're going to look at Marcums. I hope this comparison will help you out in choosing your next fish finder. Make sure to click that button, subscribe to Team Jesus Outdoors. We'll have a bunch of ice fishing videos this winter. Make sure to check out some of our ice fishing videos from last winter. This season I am using a Lowrance Elite 5 unit. It's a unit that I took off my boat at the end of last year. I didn't have a use any longer for it on the boat, and I converted it to an ice unit, and I'm very, very happy with it. My first fishing trip of the 2019-2020 ice fishing season was a perfect example of why you need a ice fishing electronics when you're on the ice. We were fishing for panfish, bluegill, and crappie. The fish were ultra finicky. They were only in 5 or 6 foot of water, but they were super finicky. You had to jiggle the bait right in front of their face to get them to bite. The bottom of the surface was loaded with fish. You had to jiggle the bait right in their face, get them to come up a little bit, then you could get them to eat it. But without ice fishing electronics, I doubt that we would have caught a single fish. Over the past couple of seasons, I have fished with a couple of guys that were using the Garmin Striker 4 unit. And I gotta say, the Striker 4 is a functional unit, particularly if you make sure that you have your transducer properly in the hole. The Striker 4 is usable. Certainly wouldn't be my preference. I've never been a big fan of Garmin units, but it is a usable unit and it's reasonably priced. When it comes to flashers, my preference is simple. I love the Vexilar units. The Vexilar FL8 is probably the best value in the flasher market. I find Marcum flashers to be pretty comparable with Vexilar flashers. I think that they're pretty comparable in price, pretty comparable in operation. However, I do think the Vexilar has one edge, and it's been around a long time. They're very, very easy to accessorize. The first decision that you have to make before you go out and buy your ice unit: are you in the market for a flasher or are you in the market for an LCD? Both flashers and LCD have come a long way. Both of them will do the job finding fish through the ice just fine. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I don't think one's necessarily better than the other. There are times that I prefer the LCD because it allows me to use a map card. So for instance, my Lowrance Elite 5 unit, I have a Navionics map card in it. So just like I would use my mapping chip on my boat to locate lake structure, I can use my mapping chip in my Elite 5 unit on the ice to locate lake structure. Now, a lot of guys are using Navionics on their phone instead of an LCD unit when it comes to lake mapping. And that's fine. If you already have Navionics app on your phone, then you can most certainly use your phone for your lake mapping, and that eliminates one of the decision-making factors between an LCD and a flasher. I think the next question you have to ask yourself when you're shopping for ice fishing electronics: what depth of water are you typically fishing? For a flasher unit, I run the Vexilar FL8. The max depth range that I can get on my FL8 is 60 feet. However, the vast majority of the time I'm fishing water less than 20 feet. Quite often I fish Lake St. Clair out of the Metro Park or out of the Crocker launch, and either way you're fishing a pretty large flat. So I don't necessarily depend all that much on the map chip, and I'm generally fishing, in that instance, I'm generally fishing less than 15 feet of water. So the Vexilar FL8 works just fine for me the majority of the time I'm on Lake St. Clair. For a lot of guys, the Vexilar FL8 or FL12 is going to easily be the best unit under 500 bucks. I say that because the Vexilar FL8 is the simplest operation you can get. To operate your FL8, you simply turn the power on by selecting your depth. So you have an outer ring that's 0 to 20, you have an inner ring that's 0 to 30. By selecting the white one time, you're using 1 to 20. By turning it to the left times 2, you're using 0 to 40. If you turn your power on to the right, or to the yellow inner circle, 1x equals 30 feet, or 2x equals 60 feet. And I will say on a flasher, it's critical to select the right depth. If I know I'm fishing less than 20 feet of water, I want to select the 1x outer ring, which is 0 to 20. Next, you're going to use your gain, which is basically your sensitivity. And I like to dial in my gain just enough that I can see my lure in the water column. I don't need my lure to be a big bright red spot in the water column. I really just want my lure to be green or orange, or green or yellow, whatever you want to. I really just want my lure to be a green or a green and orange symbol in the water column. That's plenty of sensitivity or plenty of gain. And that's it. That's your two settings you have to adjust on a Vexilar. Turn the power on to the right to the 1x ring. Gives you 0 to 30. So if you know you're going to be fishing 25, if you know you're going to be fishing in the 20 to 30 foot range, then you want to select the 1x on the right in the yellow, which is 0 to 30 on the inner dial. And again, you're going to set your gain or your sensitivity until you can just see your lure as a green or a green and orange blip. And that's it. That's how simple it is to set up your Vexilar. Now, as far as LCD units go, there are a lot more choices to make in LCDs. On the lowest end of the scale, you have the Garmin Striker 4 unit, which you can generally pick up in an ice pack right around a couple $100. Sometimes you can pick one used even less than that. And for the money, it's hard to beat a couple $100. But if I were choosing Striker 4 versus a Vexilar, FL8 or FL12, I'm still going to go with the FL8 or FL12. If I have to choose for myself Garmin Striker 4 versus Vexilar FL8, I'm going to take the FL8 all day long. One of the advantages you'll find that your flasher has over your LCD is your flasher uses less battery. So you're going to get a lot better battery life out of your flasher than you are your LCD. Another advantage to your flasher, although LCDs now are so fast it's really almost indistinguishable, but a flasher is instantaneous. There is absolutely zero lag time in a flasher. Today's LCDs are pretty fast and there's very little lag time, but I still believe that a flasher is slightly faster. Also, in extreme cold temperatures, there's no concern of a flasher freezing up on you. While I have never used them, I don't think I would be afraid to try the Lowrance hook units. You can get the Lowrance Hook 4 and Hook 5, I believe, either one, under $400. For my money, if I were going to buy an LCD unit, my opinion is the best bargain in an LCD unit, although it's $600, so it isn't under $500. But for my money, the best value in an LCD unit is a Humminbird Helix 5 all-season kit. But because I already had the Lowrance Elite 5 that I had taken off my boat and I wasn't using it, it only cost me about $150 to convert this to an ice unit. I already had the Gents Blue Box. I just had to pick up a transducer and a power cable. So for me, the Elite 5 unit was very, very cheap to set up for ice fishing. It's a fully functional unit. Again, I've got mapping. I can run split screen mapping LCD. I can run full screen LCD. And I can also select, I can go to sonar options, run split flasher, and I've got an LCD unit and a flasher. So for me, as far as I'm concerned, the Elite 5 does everything I need an LCD to do. It is critically important to make sure that your transducer is hanging perfectly level in the hole. You don't want your transducer kicked off one way or the other. You will not get a proper reading if your transducer is cocked one way or the other. You want your transducer to be hanging perfectly straight. You need your transducer to be hanging perfectly straight in the hole, preferably at or near the bottom of the ice. If your transducer is hanging too far up into the ice hole and there's a few inches of ice between the bottom of the transducer and the water, then you're going to get some surface clutter. Make sure to click that button, subscribe to Team Jesus Outdoors. We'll have a bunch of ice fishing videos this winter. Friends, I hope that you found this comparison helpful. Guys, have a great, safe season on the ice. God bless. Tight lines. We'll see you on the ice.